innocence, auspiciousness, devotion to the mother principle. These are Ganesha's attitudes.
Your psychology has to be right. You can't have the psychology that like I know something or I know things and things like that.
PT explains that unless one knows how to live, how to die, and how to exit the cycle of birth and death, one does not really know anything. He explains that one has to utilize the childlike innocence that is there when one is young and not let all the past impressions be an obstacle to it. This innocence at the beginning of one's life is sacred. One must value it dearly. Ganesh is the archetype of this childlike attitude. Who am I? What am I? What is all this? Having this basic innocence is a must for learning and evolving. Divine is diverse branching in fire ratio or golden ratio, and also nature tends towards that ratio. The Vedic approach is to pay attention to the golden ratio. From this perspective, the concept of the guru is very important in the Vedic wisdom. If one decides to pursue the path of evolution, one will have to place one's attention on something higher than oneself. In other words, one will have to pay attention to something that is closer to divine than one is. One cannot pay attention to something they have never seen, that they don't know, and that they have no idea of. PT explains that in Vedic times, beings knew that one cannot put one's attention on divine as a whole, because it is something higher that one doesn't know about. One has to put their attention on a being that they can see and hear. If a being is higher than one is, one should put their attention on them. One will eventually reach their level, and from there, one will find someone even higher and then reach their level. Divine is even higher than that, but one is nonetheless moving towards divine by following someone higher than oneself. This is the timeless guru principle of the Veds. It is true that one could focus on their Atma within. The part of divine inside oneself is called Atma. Divine is called Paramatma, meaning perfect Atma. Param means perfect and Atma means self. The core thing, the core essence inside oneself is called Atma. It comes from the fragment of Paramatma only. However, one must know that Atma is not Paramatma. So if one decides to focus on their Atma, one is not using their senses properly, since one should focus on something better than oneself. One should learn from another being whose Atma is closer to Paramatma. There are different levels of Atma. Beings on higher planes also have an Atma. However, they are more evolved, so they are called Devatma. There are beings on even higher planes that can create worlds. They are called Rishi-atmas. And even amongst Rishis, there are classes of Atmas, depending on the levels. Finally, above all is Paramatman.
Guru means their Atma is more evolved than you, so you can learn from them. Okay. So only Atma wants to do that. Okay. You functioning from your deepest self only, which is core self, which is called Atman, then only you can do as per Guru. Because mind does not want to do any such thing. Mind has no interest in having any such thing, because mind doesn't care. Mind cares about just like some entertainment, sometimes something distraction, some that thing. You know, it has the problems. Like, but Atma, which is you can call it attention, you can call it your inner core, you can call it anything you want. You know, but that is what you have to take you higher.
One has to be connected to the Atma in order to take any steps in one's evolution. However, if one is disconnected from the Atma, one can't take any step forward in evolution. PT adds that it is what we see around us in the world. People who are caught in the mental world cannot take any step higher. They are simply devolving, since they cannot hear the sound of the Atma. One's Atma will guide one in the right direction. It will guide one towards a guru who has a better Atma. PT says that no school, no parents, no society will guide one in the right direction. Once one has encountered their guru, one should put their attention on that being. In the West, they have given the impressions that it is enough for evolution to just go inside of oneself. However, in the Vedic, that is only the beginning. After that, one has to find one's guru and reach their level and keep evolving with a higher guru after that. The Vedic way is to have a direct interaction with the guru. The teachings are oral or spoken, so there is no confusion. Piti states that the religions of right now are anti-Vedic because there is nothing like that.
Other being becomes a guru when you're following them, when you understand that their Atmic level is more than you, and then you can raise your Atmic level by listening to them, by going as per their guidance. So that's, even the word guidance comes from guru only.
Piti insists on the fact that once found, one's guru has to become everything in one's life. One needs this kind of focus to reach the guru's level. Piti states that the answers to the questions who to follow, who will become my guru, come only from the Atmic level. Only one's Atma will tell oneself that a being has more Atma than oneself. Nothing else does. The mind cannot have that judgment. This is why centering becomes very important to balance the mind so that one is able to tell what is what within oneself. Piti adds that the stronger the center, the stronger the connection is with one's Atma. The more one is able to focus on the right thing outside. In other words, the stronger one's center is, the better one is able to focus on the guru properly.
Piti has given the recipe to navigate one's being beyond the matrix of this earth after death. One key element to this recipe is praise of the higher and divine. Piti has repetitively explained that for one to evolve properly, one has to make proper use of their speech. Speaking is the only action that a human can do that will activate the 5 pranas in one's body. It is a very important action that differentiates us from animals. Centered praises of divine are the greatest thing one can speak and an absolute must to evolve. Evolving means connecting to the divine force. Through praising repetitively, one is increasing their intelligence, which in turn allows one to praise more. Besides, real praising of the higher and divine will lead to bowing to the higher and divine. Bowing will then lead to serving the higher and divine. This praising, bowing, serving, PBS sequence is the most natural sequence of action for any being to go by, not just on Earth, but in the multiverse as a whole. Regardless of where one is in the multiverse, regardless of one's level, one has to praise divine, bow to divine, and serve divine. This fact is still not clear to the majority of the population, and this is why Piti has incarnated. The beauty of the coming of an avataric incarnation is that divine itself comes down to share transcendental knowledge to evolve humanity. In modern times, people go to school. However, PT says that in school, children sit on chairs and whoever is teaching is standing up. This is the opposite of the Vedic way. In the Vedic way, the teacher is sitting on a higher ground and the children would be sitting down on the ground. It gives humility.
Humility means like you don't know and you agree to the fact that you don't know and then you want to learn and then you are humble about it. Okay, so
open-minded.
Oh, and humble about it. Like, you know, you don't have an attitude.
Yes.
Okay, like right now the attitude is there. You know, like, oh, I'm going to ask a question, you have to answer me.
Yes.
Okay. So the whole thing in this attitude right now is such that people think that they can just ask questions.
Yes.
Okay, and they think that asking questions is going to give them knowledge.
The Vedic system was about sitting in front of the guru. Then the guru is going to tell one everything one needs to know without any need for asking anything. PT states that the whole thing of asking questions and that the answers would somehow help oneself is a wrong notion. It is very modern, where there is no actual respect for the teacher. This happens in schools today. PT says that even in Vedic times, when a rishi was around, kings used to get off their thrones and fall at their feet. It is the way one should behave. One should behave in a humble manner towards the beings who know more, who are closer to the state of perfection than one is. One cannot learn by lounging in a sofa and watching some YouTube video. Real learning requires practical basics. Only where one is taught how to sit, how to take control of their body, and how to speak properly can one learn properly. When people are disconnected from the ground, they can develop more problems and issues, whether mental or physical. Spiritual conferences, where people are sitting in chairs hoping to learn something, PT clarifies by stating that no learning can take place in such circumstances. No wisdom is going into these people, despite so many of these seminars, retreats, conferences, etc. PT insists on the fact that one cannot apply anything unless they take control of the body. All actions from morning to night happen using the body. Therefore, it is key to use that instrument properly. A being should focus on the basics without jumping to other secondary and tertiary things.
The point I made today is such an important point.
Yes.
Unless this is clear, there's no point even going forward or teaching anything.
Right, right.
You know, because people have to first make a choice in this regard. Like, do they really want to learn? Do they really want to evolve?
Yeah.
Do they really want to grow? Do they really want good for themselves? Do they really want to get out of pain and torture and hell? Do they really want all of these things?
True.
If you really want, then only you really want to learn. And then when you really want to learn, then you will be ready to do what is required for learning.
PT's book, P's Gita, Scriptures for the Now, and Lotus Ocean meditation classes are there for all beings to start learning and applying the basics to improve the quality of their lives.
The beings here do not know that they are a being.
If any being goes outside within 5 minutes, they should be able to realize that they exist within something. PT explains that people do not think of themselves as being inside of something, but rather as being in a village or in a city or in a country. The result of that is that beings end up following the man-made laws of whatever village, city or country they are in. They do not realize that they are inside of something beyond that limited understanding. PT says that it should not take long for anybody to realize that they are a being, that they exist, and that they exist inside of something. After that, one should naturally realize that this construct one lives inside of has laws that need to be followed.
But the beings only think in terms of that they are in a town or village or country. So they only pay attention to the man-made laws. It comes easy to people. So if they're in America, they'll drive on the right side. If they're in England, they'll drive on the left side. So these kind of things come easy to people because they pay attention to the laws, which are the man-made laws.
Yeah, which are the man-made laws.
Not the universal, multiversal laws.
Yes.
They're paying no attention
No.
to that kind of thing at all.
Never occurs to them.
Because they don't even take the 5 minutes to establish that they are inside something. Which is quite an evident thing that you are inside something.
Yes.
People base their whole life on man-made laws and never bother to find out the multiversal laws. The laws of this multiverse are most important and not subject to change. They have never changed and will never change. In comparison, man-made laws are unimportant and subject to change. PT adds that if a being is not doing this basic process of establishing that they are a being existing inside of something that has laws, they are getting themselves into a very problematic situation. Most beings in this day and age are in this situation. When one doesn't know the laws of the construct one lives in, one will find themselves under an unnatural, unjust system like we see today. People are under the illusion that if they follow the laws of the man-made system, they are doing fine. However, this is not the case. If one is eating meat that has been killed in a horrible way in a slaughterhouse, one is not going to get into trouble with the man-made laws. Nonetheless, multiversal laws have a very different policy. PT explains that most of the man-made laws are set up in a way where beings who follow them will break the multiversal laws and get into trouble as a result. If one breaks multiversal laws, one will keep on losing sense and power. PT highlights the fact that the weaker one is, the easier one is to control. Any being that does not bother to find out multiversal laws is bound to go to hell, which is nothing but pain and torture, and is happening right now on Earth. Countries and cities are man-made concepts, but there is a much bigger construct one is inside of called the Matrix. Knowing the laws of this construct is a must in order to not get into trouble. Very few people are trying to find out what these laws are. Even those who are trying to find out something only get to some very superficial understanding or to some morals or dogmas that have nothing to do with the actual multiversal laws. PT points out that most people will get into action without bothering to find out anything at all.
They are so convinced of their knowing that they know what to do without even knowing that they are inside something, which is a bizarre concept in the first place. I mean, it should not be very hard to figure out that you are a being and that you exist. It's quite a self-evident thing, and it should not be that tough to find out that as a being you exist inside of something. You're surrounded on all sides by something, whether it's bottom, top, all around all sides. You are inside something. Even a very cursory look can tell you that.
PT says that everything has a basis, otherwise it would just collapse. That basis is what we call laws. Even the sun or the moon move around in a lawful way.
The term truth is the closest English equivalent of the Sanskrit term satya. PT clarifies by saying that the term satya refers to the unchangeable pure principles that govern this multiverse. Sanatan is associated with satya. Sanatan means eternal. PT explains that even though it is always good to point out fact, satya has to do with pure principles only. In other words, saying that an apple is an apple, an orange is an orange, an apple is different from an orange, is factual, but it does not relate to satya. Satya only has to do with eternal pure principles of the multiverse. For example, what Krishna revealed to Arjuna during the Mahabharata war is to do with satya, because it is true all the time.
For example, know that a fruit tastes like this right now, like a fruit. Okay, you can say like it tastes like this. Now this fruit exists on earth this time, at this time on earth. Another time it might not exist.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it existed, it had this taste. Okay, that's when, but now it doesn't exist. So there is no satya in these kind of things.
PT gives an example of a pure principle that qualifies as satya. No being can own another being in this multiverse. PT adds that this can be applied and it does not change in time. There are beings who were there at the beginning of creation and that will still be there at its end. Nonetheless, this rule will still apply the same way. In the history of mankind, there were instances where beings did try to control other beings. PT states that at the end, nobody was able to do it. This is only one example. There are plenty more. PT says that the so-called truther community of right now are getting very contented with some small facts about something. However, they are not going for the actual eternal facts and truth of the multiverse. For example, if someone discovers who controls the world at the moment, it doesn't tell them anything about real, pure principles of the multiverse. It is good for people to come to know more and more facts about the world, but these facts cannot be called Satya. Satyam Shivam Sundaram means truth is Shiv is beauty. PT explains the meaning behind this expression.
Now, what is Shiv principle? Shiv principle is the knowledge of the rules, laws, blueprint of this Brahman.
Okay.
That's Shiv principle. So, that is the actual Satya. What
Okay.
is, from a very core level.
Okay.
And the more you stick to it, the more you have knowledge of it, the more beauty there is. Okay.
Yeah.
The lack of knowledge, understanding of that leads to what is called ugliness, the opposite of beauty.
Yeah.
Okay. So the more you are in tune with it, like first you know it, then you're in tune with it. Okay. So
Yeah.
that is Satya, Shiv, Sundar. Okay.
PT adds that the Vedas are just the sonic code for creation. The word makes the world. Brahma did use sound to make creation. The current technology of computer and software is based on binary, which is made only of zeros and ones. In other words, it is composed of only two variables. PT explains that creation is made of 50 variables, and that is why the virtual reality can never compete with actual reality. This is Satya. As long as the Brahman exists, Satya will always be true. Real beauty only comes from Satya, and it has to be learnt. PT continues by stating that this is why the Guru tradition was there. A Guru could impart all the Satya they knew to their disciples. The other main topic of this talk is regarding the Atmic way of life. The core of every being is called Atma in Sanskrit. In English, it is called the divine spark. It is not the spirit, because spirit also includes the other bodies inside of the physical body besides the divine spark. The very center point of every being is Atma. That Atma will have a certain amount of knowing of Satya. Not all Atmas know all of Satya. In fact, if an Atma knows all of Satya, that Atma is Paramatma, and Paramatma can only be one. Other Atmas are Jivatmas. These Atmas can be at any levels, and that level is based on how much the Atma knows about Satya. In this day and age, beings have problems with their mind. Mind programming is very present, which creates a lot of confusion on people's mind. PT explains that many times people do not find a guru to teach them anything. In this situation, he says that one has to go within oneself to the root level. That is what meditation is for. Centering and controlling the body is very important to bypass the mind and operate from the Atma level instead of from the mind level. From one's Atma, one will be able to get advice that is much better than the chatter of the mind.
Beings earlier times, how they could decide whom to study under or what thing is from the Atmic level only. This decision was not made in the mind. Right now, people try to make all decisions from where? The mind.
From mind, yes.
Yeah, but these decisions are not made from mind.
No.
Mind can have any confusion, and mind can say different things different times.
Yeah.
Today, it might say this is okay and good. Tomorrow, it might say this is not. Okay, there is no continuity in mind. I'm saying it's changeable.
Yeah.
Mind is changeable. Atma is much more stable.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Right. The stability of Atma is not, and stability of mind cannot be compared to each other at all.
Yes.
Okay, so to go into Atmic level also helps you find your actual real Guru. Because then you meet another Atma which is got more that thing, and then you become the disciple, and then your Atma can learn that Satya and grow. That's called evolution.
PT states that evolution happens based on the Atma. The term evolution is there only for the Atma because only the Atma evolves. PT says that beings should practice functioning from the Atmic level. These teachings are not available publicly these days. PT has explained many times how to disconnect the mind and the body so that one's body does not immediately do what the mind tells it to do. Functioning only from the mind is not what human beings are supposed to do. PT declares that it is not a human state to function like that. Lotus Ocean is about teaching how to control one's body, posture, speech, diet, what to say, what not to say, and all of these disciplines that will allow one to bypass the mental world and connect one to the Atmic level. When one functions from there, one cannot do the same mistakes and the wrong actions one was doing when functioning from the confusion of the mind.
PT explains that the term Sanatan is a Sanskrit word that means that which remains from the beginning of creation until the end of creation. The term Vedic relates to the blueprint of that creation. PT explains that everything has a structure or a blueprint. That structure or that blueprint of creation is what we can call a Vedic structure. Brahma, the creator, has created this Brahmand based on this blueprint. PT says that in modern language, one can say that the basic operating system of creation is the Veds. Just like any computer has a basic operating system like Windows or Linux or Unix, the operating system of the universe is the Veds. Besides, since the Veds are the blueprint of creation from the beginning until the end of time, the term Sanatan is relevant here. Hence, the term Vedic Sanatan. PT talks about Kali Yuga, or the age of ignorance. He brings up the fact that the only thing Kali has done on earth is to not allow Vedic Sanatan to reach the consciousness of people. No one talks about the Vedic principles in school or anywhere in the mainstream. PT emphasizes the fact that Kali Yuga's basic meaning is about cutting beings off from their Vedic roots. Without roots, nothing will last very long. Even though the evil forces are trying to keep this age running longer, it is impossible because of the self-destructive nature of this age. PT explains that even though some Vedic things are still there, less than 25% of them are still effective, which is very little. Even the very little Vedic knowledge that is left is dying. This means that the true timeless Vedic knowledge, Vedic Sanatan, has to come back. This is where the avatar's presence is necessary to restore righteousness. PT has come down to restore Vedic Sanatan. An incarnation of divine does not come down to align with any of the earthly religion, but to restore the timeless Vedic principles relating to the structure of creation. The principles that PT teaches are applicable to all realms. The avatar always comes down to give transcendental knowledge that applies to Earth and all other regions of the multiverse. PT begins this talk by explaining that one just has to use common sense to see that the age of Aquarius is happening right now. In this day and age, we have wireless communication, television, radio, and plenty of other devices that use electricity. All of these things are connected to the sign of Aquarius. Internet is also a giveaway sign that we are already in the age of Aquarius. PT explains that 100 years ago, only rich people could afford to have access to books, and not everybody could read back then. Most books were in different languages that people did not know about, like Latin.
So now the fact is that everybody on a device can access millions of times more information than the rich could access in that time. Right now, any common person with a mobile phone and an internet connection can have access to way more knowledge and information than anybody 100 years ago. So we're already in the age of Aquarius.
Aquarius relates to electromagnetic waves and allows internet connection to happen. This sign is ruled by Saturn, which relates to discipline. The fact that discipline is part of the picture here means that everyone needs to have discipline in this age. PT points out that internet can be used for distraction, just like it can be used for learning and evolving. Aquarius gives the opportunity to grow, but people have to seize it through the practice of discipline. PT explains that there is no point speculating on what happened in the past because there is no real way to know what happened. Whether Jesus was real or a divine incarnation like many like to believe, no one can know unless they time travel. PT adds that a common mistake is made about the timing of the age of Aquarius, and that beings think that the Western Spring should be the yardstick for knowing which age we are currently in. However, the pointer to the age of Aquarius is the spring near the equator that counts, not the spring in the northern latitude. Astro means star and logi means logic. Hence, astrology means the logic of the stars. This is also the reason why the sidereal system of astrology is the correct one. The Western system does not use the position of the star as they are in the sky. Western astrology is based on the season.
One has to start from the previous house in order to understand the 9th house. In the 8th house, one learns about the temporary nature of life. One comes to know about many different kinds of endings. The result of this learning should lead to one wanting to know what is truly important. PT says that one needs someone else to guide oneself, which is why the 9th house is the house of the guru. After one has realized what is not important, then the interrogations that are important, such as what is the meaning of human life or how is one supposed to use this human birth, are answered in the 9th house. PT says that the deep questioning takes place in the 8th house and the 9th house gives the answers. The type of graha that is placed in the 9th house will show what type of guru principle one will be most attracted to, or what one will attract. Sun will be more solar, Moon more lunar, Mars more Martian, etc.
Another thing with 9th house is that, with the whole guru principle is that once you are ready to have that wisdom, that you will have to listen and apply and learn, basically listen, learn and apply. You're humble enough for that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Then how that humility comes also. You know what I'm saying? And how that humility manifests can be by the sign of the 9,000, the graha, which is in there. So 9,000 can also do that. So that's an important thing about that it's the guru principle, which is the most important part of the 9th house. Because for example in 8th house you will also go into you'll come to know that when you actually do the research, 8th house is research, right? So you'll research and then this is not the only plane of existence, Earth. There are other planes of existence. You'll come to know about there are planes of existence above, there are planes of existence below. These are hidden things, right? Hidden knowledge. Okay, but you have learned all of that in 8th house. Okay, you have learned that there is more to things than meets the eye, right? You have learned all of that. Now comes the question, okay, now what? Like, how do I get to the higher plane then? Now there are higher planes and this is the plane, this is not the only plane of existence. Then you have to find out how do I get there? Okay, for that you need a roadmap, you need a guide, which is again guru. You come to 9th house. In 9th house, you will learn how to get there, what to do, the application.
PT adds that once one's guru is found, one has to have reverence and be receptive to the guru. If one is not receptive, humble, grateful, one can never learn and apply. Gratitude means great attitude. The laws of the multiverse relate to the 9th house. PT points out that these laws are not taught in school. There is no law school on Earth that will teach anything of the sort. These laws have to be taught by a being who knows about them. that has experienced them firsthand in this life and other lives. Based on their experience in the multiverse, this being can guide oneself in the right direction. The ninth house relates to long journeys. PT explains that when one is looking for a guru, one is ready to go to any length in order to attain that goal. If one has to go around the entire earth to find the guru, one will do so. Finding the right guru may require one to travel very far. This is the spirit of the ninth house.
Because if you have to go into a higher plane of existence or anything, now that is a foreign place for you, which you don't know the laws of. But you out here learn the laws, you prepare for that, and then you will be granted entry there because you are ready for it.
Wow.
Because on the earth time, by the time you had here, you prepared for it. You know, you learned what it is about, you learned what they're about. So that's another foreign travel. That's a bigger foreign travel.
The ninth house is part of the core 159 triangle, which is very important. The first house is the body and the fifth house is intelligence. PT describes this 159 triangle as a body, mind, spirit triangle, respectively. The ninth house is a true consciousness expanding house, which can answer all the important questions and eventually take one out of the cycle of birth and death. In this life, most of the circumstances one finds themselves in come from what one has done in previous lives. This is what constitutes one's horoscope or birth chart. This is how one's chart is made at the time of birth. The result one gets in the present, whether good or bad, is the consequence of one's past doing.
A chart is a circumstance sort of indicator in this life, right? And that all of that is coming from your actions in your past lives. So yes, obviously, like if you're getting some circumstance, the root of it lies in your past lives and past life actions.
It all will depend on who you will listen to. It all will depend on who you will listen to.
Piti commences his wonderful dialogue by stating that the whole point of Jyotish is self-discovery. He explains that this is also how his Vedic astrology journey started in his lifetime. The books that were available back then were not very helpful. Many were very middle-aged, like in their explanation. Piti explains that the ancient text from Parashara, which all of today's modern astrology has been based upon, has been changed in the last 200 to 300 years. Based on the time period when it was produced, the type of activities beings were into were different then. Since then, Vedic astrology has evolved. Piti adds that this is why one cannot really rely on the texts that are there right now. Besides, the descriptions in those texts are too generic and vague. These texts do not focus on the actual knowing of the self, but rather on what one can gain or lose based on the different generalized chart placements. Piti raises the very important topic of nakshatra. In Parashara's book, Brihat Parashara Horashastra, the names of the nakshatras are merely mentioned and that is all. There is no further information about them than just their names. Piti explains how he came to understand the nakshatras and their meanings, despite the fact that there was no information on them at the time.
I started thinking that I should observe things because there's no Rishikul to go to right now. Like earlier times, you could go to Rishis and you can go to the ashram and learn it because they have the knowledge already. Then you could, but nothing like that exists right now. Nobody has that much knowledge or nothing is there because all of that has been lost.
Yeah.
So I decided to observe myself, because moon passes through one nakshatra every day.
Yeah.
24 hours, like every 24 hours, moon passes through one nakshatra. So if you can observe that day for yourself and that nakshatra is passing, then you will get some information on that nakshatra. Just by seeing the moon pass every day. So that's what I started doing when I was in IIT Delhi. Like when I was first started learning Jyotish, that's what I started doing. And then I wrote some notes for myself. And those notes have become this book right now, which you have.
Wow.
Basically. Yeah.
Piti's daily observations have led to a book that has brought groundbreaking light to the field of Jyotish. Piti explains that because of the moon's movement passing through one nakshatra per day and therefore going through all the nakshatras in 27 to 28 days, one can observe that cycle every 27 to 28 days and understand each nakshatra this way. The science system which contains a nakshatra was very clear from the beginning. From Aries to Pisces, one can know what is what from head to toe. Aries is the head, Taurus is the face, and so on. This is clear to people. Piti explains that nakshatra do not function like this. They are lunar. Hence, when the moon gives a certain result in a nakshatra, one can understand what result will be given when another graha comes in the nakshatra. The result is based on the combined qualities of the graha and the qualities of the nakshatra. There are many factors involved to understand a nakshatra. Piti explains that one should bring things down to how nature functions.
What the thing with the Jyotish right now is that it's totally dissociated from nature.
Yes. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Like if you're like the Jyotishis of right now, they have got nothing to do with nature at all. They've never been in nature. They're living in, those kind of buildings and they've never been in nature. They don't know what, they've never seen a sunrise even in their whole lives.
Yeah.
And if you've not seen that, like you can't really tell about Ashwini or anything like that.
Piti explains that he was in total disagreement with all the so-called Jyotishis in India, due to the fact that the whole country has gone against nature. India has no culture regarding connecting with nature. The West is also an example, but is not as bad. Piti has always put a very strong emphasis on connecting with nature. He stresses that when one has a connection with nature, Jyotish is learned very differently. Piti insists on the fact that learning has to happen the Vedic way. The Western way of learning is wrong. It does not lead one to evolution at all. In Vedic times, there was the Gurukul system when a higher being who was much more sorted and much more coherent than oneself would actually teach real knowledge. Piti explains that the school teachers of right now are not teachers of any kind. They are ignorant. They are teaching beings that Earth is a ball that spins around the sun. The fact is that Earth is flat and stationary. All Jyotish mathematics and calculations are based on the Earth being flat and stationary. The Vedic cosmology has a tier of other planes of existence along with this Earth plane, Bhumandal, which is in the middle.
Everything you have been taught at school first is wrong.
Yeah.
Everything. When I say everything, it means everything. Like whatever they taught you at school,
is a lie. Okay, first, number one, because that is to keep you give you an impression that you know something when you don't. I mean, even if you go anywhere on a plane, or you'll always see the horizon is flat.
There are many ways to prove it. For example, in Chicago, if one goes on the side of the lake that is opposite to the city, one can see the city. However, PT points out that if the earth was curved, the ground would go down 8 inches per mile. This means that if the earth was a ball, like they pretend it is, one would not be able to see the city from the other side of the lake, but the city is visible from that vantage point. PT explains that the system wanted to give an impression that we are just on a little ball that floats in a massive galaxy without any purpose. This was to give a sense that none of what is happening on Earth is important at all, so that people live aimless lives. The baller theory was a well thought out lie. Below this Earth plane is Patal Lok, where other beings are living. There are various types of beings in this multiverse. The modern media call them aliens, but it is simply another lie. Alien is a lie. PT insists on the fact that everything that is told to people in the so-called West is a lie. Another example is gravity. PT says that there is no such thing called gravity. There is only density. There is no physical force that keeps everything on the ground. There is density. The air is less dense than we are, so we stay on the ground. Whatever is denser goes down. There is no force where objects attract each other like gravity has described. There is so much more to real science that humanity is blind to. The reason why Earth is called a planet is because planet means plane, and a plane is flat. The T is for the crossing. The Earth is a crossing from one plane to another plane.
Like when you're dying, when your physical body dies, when your spirit comes out, you're crossing over from one plane to another plane.
In this world, falsities are everywhere, from the distance between the Earth and the Sun to the number of years left in Kali Yuga. PT says that when it comes to theories, one can take anything, corrupt it, and present it in a certain way. For PT, Jyotish is much more than prediction and the shallow nonsense it has become these days. It is about understanding the construct one lives inside.
Like we are beings and we are inside of something. That is the concept. We are inside of something and that thing has laws. Whatever we are inside has some laws. It has some basis and it functions on the basis of that. The moment we come to know these laws, the better it will be for us. Because then we can go by those laws.
Yeah.
And if you go by these laws, then you won't have to follow the laws of the man-made laws.
Following the laws of the multiverse is much more important than following man-made laws. If one breaks the man-made laws, at worst, one will go to prison. If one breaks the multiversal laws, one will get in much bigger trouble. PT explains that the technology of today is based on zeros and ones. It is Egyptian-based and not invented by Westerners like they try to make the world believe. PT states that the people in control were just good at digging scrolls and applying the concept they had found. The truth is hidden to the masses. For example, the truth about the television device is not known to the masses. PT explains that television was cathode ray tube or CRT. However, when CRT were brought here in the 19th century, they were not for television but to contact the spirits on the other side. One could send a hello through the CRT and a green light used to phone. A spirit could use that green light to write letters to communicate with humans. PT adds that there is an occult significance to every technology that we know of. Nobody will teach that in school. It is not because one uses something that they know how it works. Referring to computers, PT adds that the software level is a superficial level. The secrets are hidden at the hardware level.
The actual esoteric occult secrets of technology are not known to people. The beings who are in charge of this whole plane right now, they don't want the masses to come to know anything because that's how they keep their power.
PT continues his talk by explaining that Jyotish is only one aspect of the laws of the multiverse. For example, an nakshatra energy is there at any time, and it is up to one to align with that energy. However, in these times, people do anything any day at any time and break the laws out of ignorance. PT emphasizes that not knowing is not an excuse. One will have to pay the karma for it. Multiversal laws are the laws one needs to follow. They increase one's power when one follows them. In comparison, man-made laws are irrelevant. They do not increase one's power. Multiversal laws are timeless. They are the Vedic heritage. An example of multiversal laws is that if one comes across a being that is more evolved than oneself, one has to praise them and bow to them immediately. That is a Vedic law. If one breaks it, one will inevitably get into trouble and cannot evolve. This is nothing Westerners know about. We are living inside of this Brahman. One has to come to know the basis of this Brahman so that one knows how to deal with any other being, higher or lower. There are laws that one cannot afford to bypass. In the Vedic wisdom, it is clearly said that there are higher beings and lower beings. One cannot deal with two beings in the same way if one is higher than oneself and the other is lower than oneself. Piti adds that the West has taken away this notion of higher and lower so that people do not evolve. They want people to believe that everyone is equal, which is absolute nonsense. Even in today's society, inequality is everywhere, but they want this illusion to survive. Piti explains that nothing works like that in reality, but if people believe it, they will misbehave and devolve as a result. The lower one becomes, the more one is likely to be a slave of the system.
Yeah, so the whole point is to create slaves. And what do you have to do to create slaves is reduce their power. And how do you reduce their power? By cutting them off from multiversal laws.
In the year 2000, Piti wrote a brilliant article where he discusses the fact that the view of the multiverse most beings have in this day and age is wrong. Due to a deep disconnection with natural forces, humanity has been stuck in the worldly realm. Most are stuck in a sea of superficiality and do not even question anything beyond this material world they have attached themselves to. Our bodies are made of the elements that has created the stars and the galaxies. Piti states that the plan of the universe is the same from an atom to a galaxy. The universe is made on a similar blueprint everywhere, regardless of the plane, of the beings who live on this plane, or other factors. Following this same logic, Piti adds that we are all children of the stars and each of us is made based on the model of the universe we exist in. Here, Piti mentions the principle as inside, so outside. We relate with the cosmos based on the microcosm-macrocosm analogy, which means that there is a structural similarity between humans and the universe. Piti explains that real earthly education would be geared towards teaching these important matters to everyone. The image is from the Hopi wisdom teaching. Here, the arrow symbolizes the child's attention and the bow symbolizes his mind and intellect. This as a whole is meant to show the four main attributes required for learning the ways of the universe: curiosity, innocence, humility, and concentration. Piti explains that there can be no real peace in an individual and society unless a total union between a being and the whole creation is achieved. The understanding of one's life and its place in the cosmos can be found within astrology. Given the present understanding that humanity has regarding astrology and the lack of comprehension of the cosmic reality, it is very easy to understand that Earth requires a cleansing before the golden age can really flourish. The collective awareness of humanity as a whole has to undergo a deep change if it wants to be part of the new Earth. Much gratitude to PT, the divine avatar.